This has been a presentation of CNN Sports.
At all?
Not a lot, Robin, quite honestly, but if you're going to take the Bills, the underdog here, thinking they can keep this thing close and lose, history says don't do that. If you could have simply picked the winner of this game, you'd have covered the spread 25 of the 27 Super Bowls. That's just one of a myriad of numbers associated with this game. A couple of trends jump out, and each points to Dallas. First, it says you should go with the team on the bigger role. The club entering the Super Bowl with the longest current win streak has covered 15 of the last 18. Dallas enters riding a 7-game win streak. The second trend suggests that the team that's been better against the spread throughout the season prevails in the big game. 12 of the last 14, and again, that's Dallas. The Bills have returned despite a major decline in every phase of their play since last year. The 92 Bills led the league in rushing. This year they were 8th. Passing fell from 6th to 11th. And check the fall off defensively, especially against the run. But these valiant Bills have survived by feasting on opponents' mistakes. They've gone from a below-average turnover ratio last year to the best in the league this season. But they've made that turnover improvement on only one side of the ball. They've made it defensively. Offensively, the Bills still make as many mistakes as ever, lots of them. Buffalo's turned the ball over 34 times the last 16 games. In that same 16-game package, Dallas has turned it over only 15 times compared to the Bills' 34. What happens when a team that survives on the mistakes of others meets one of the most mistake-free teams to ever reach this level? Well, another game that matches the kind of recent dominance the NFC's had over the AFC. And note that weird trend that the game breaks open in the second quarter. The Cowboy victory starts talk of a dynasty. The Bills debut their newest slogan, go for 5 and 95.
All right, Norm, it scares me a little bit because I agree with what you just said there. I don't have to tell you this. Enjoy the game, Norm, all right?
You too, Robin.
Okay. Before we wrap up our Sunday Sports Day, Dick Schaap has some thoughts on another matter concerning baseball great Mickey Mantle.
For the first time ever, it's a Super Bowl rematch the very next year. The Dallas Cowboys are looking to walk with the football gods and become only the 5th franchise to repeat as champions. The Buffalo Bills have made it for an unprecedented 4th straight trip. But if the result is the same, what a long, strange trip it would be. Troy Aikman's command of the Dallas ship is becoming legendary. So are Emmitt Smith's mercurial feet. But Thurman Thomas will attempt to run from 2 sobering Super Bowl memories and beat the back in front, while Jim Kelly tries to join the rare quarterback club of ring bearers. If speed kills, then the Cowboys are lethal, looking for a repeat of last January's massacre. If experience is the tonic, then the Bills are determined to sip victory champagne. A champion looking to toss aside its pursuer again, and a challenger looking to spring the big upset. Which teams have enough to go the full distance? America's team or America's underdog? And so are we on our special 90-minute Super Bowl edition of ESPN's NFL Gameday. It's a somewhat rainy day and probably be a rainy night in Georgia. But it's not raining all over the world. You're looking at the Georgia Dome, where it will be dry and loud as Super Bowl XXVIII kicks off just a bit more than 6 hours from right now. Inside the media headquarters here at the Hyatt Regency in downtown Atlanta, you can look around and easily answer that time-honored question. Are you ready for some football? The resounding answer is yes, and so are we.
guess they heard me ask it. They gave us the answer. Hello, everybody. Once again, I'm Chris Berman, and to quote those noted Southern poets, Leonard Skinner, we're aiming to play it pretty for Atlanta here on our 90-minute Super Bowl edition of NFL Game Day. We'd like to introduce the rest of the members of the band. On guitar, Screaming Tom Jackson. Jumpin' Joe Theismann is on the bass. Crashing Chris Mortensen is on the drums. Gene Krupa, you're not. A couple of opening riffs here, gentlemen. You know, two great storylines here at Super Bowl XXVIII. Does Dallas walk with the NFL gods, joining only the Packers, Dolphins, Steelers, and 49ers as back-to-back Super Bowl winners? Or do the overdue Bills finally cash in and in one fell swoop, stop the whole image, change everything around, and forge a new one, the gang that wouldn't quit? Tommy, opening thoughts on the day.
Well, I think that it's the night before when the excitement begins for this game. That's when you get the adrenaline flow going. That's when you start thinking about tomorrow I can be a world champion. I know I'm not going to play the game today, but I didn't sleep very well last night.
Well, Tommy, I got to be honest with you. I'm not going to play the game today either. And being an NFC guy, having won 9 in a row, I slept very comfortably, I have to be honest with you. But I do believe that this is a week and this is a night that the Dallas Cowboys were a little bit uneasy because they have to wonder, is fate going to smile on those Buffalo Bills at our expense, Mort?
Well, Joe, you should know this better than anybody. The NFC East champion, in this case the Cowboys, is shooting for its 4th straight Super Bowl title, all against the Buffalo Bills. But think about this. The Bills have swept all 4 NFC East opponents they played this year, including the Cowboys and Giants, and they've only allowed 41 points in doing so. So the Cowboys, hey, they're not overconfident for this game. They're confident. They have a lot of respect for the Buffalo Bills, though, Chris.
Hey, our researchers tell us that each of the players got extra mints on their pillow. They all slept very nicely last night. Well, as President Ronald Reagan once said, well, here we go again. The Cowboys and the Bills, same bat time, same bat channel. They're both 12-4 this season, 14-4 overall. Both won their championship games by 17 points. Both have registered 6 sacks in the postseason wins. Both are #1 seeds in their respective conferences. But the similarities end there. Dallas, in their record 7th Super Bowl appearance, is 3-3. And the big one, Buffalo, in their 4th appearance is, well, you know. As for Dallas's top guns today, quarterback Troy Aikman, you may remember, did not finish the NFC title game against the 49ers. But his concussion is not a factor anymore. Neither are his shoulder, rib, or back pains. He's had a sharp week in practice. This really hasn't been an issue all week long. As for Emmitt Smith, his slightly separated shoulder may cause him pain if he's hit just right or wrong, depending on what side you're looking at it from. But he says he feels better than he has in a month, as the 49ers found out the hard way last week. NFC Championship game. Now, both guys can expect the Bills to check that injury report with some hard hits. Basically, Troy and Emmett know it's not a day for flag football. But in some ways, maybe it is. There's controversy here over the flying of the Georgia State flag, which includes the old Confederate battle flag, offensive to some. For the latest on that issue and our first check with the Georgia Dome, both inside and outside, let's move on. Let's crash right through the roof and join our Andrea Kramer. Andrea?
Thank you very much, Chris. Dallas defensive end Charles Haley did not practice Wednesday or Thursday. Now, Jimmy Johnson has a no practice, no play rule, which he's going to waive because Charles was out there Friday and he was feeling better. But defensive coordinator Butch Davis told us it depends on how Charles feels when he wakes up this morning. As for the Bills, I was talking to a couple of their linemen, and they like this turf here at the Dome. It's soft and a lot of cushion, but it's what they call sticky. So some of the guys are going to be out there wearing more basketball-style shoes. This was a week when players were pretty good off the field. Some other news dominated the headlines. The Georgia State flag has created quite a controversy amongst a number of people. It is flying outside the Dome at both ends of the stadium. There is a protest planned by writers who will walk out of the press box when the national anthem is played. Other people will wear black as a show of support. Now, the NFL is doing nothing. I ran into the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who told us, why is that the case? The NFL has supported the Martin Luther King holiday. They've supported inner-city programs. Why stop now? A little bit later in the show, I'll be back with a look at playing with pain. Right now, let's head back to you, Chris.
All right, Andrea, thank you very much. We'll check back with you. Tommy, your read on the situation here, the flag situation.
Well, I think certainly the commissioner and all the parties involved deserve a lot of credit for trying to avoid a very embarrassing situation or potentially embarrassing situation at the stadium today. I think as long as the NFL carries the political clout that it does, these kinds of situations are going to arise, but I think the commissioner has handled it as well as could be expected.
Yeah, taking advice from the mayor and Reverend Jesse Jackson and everything, and let's hope that, that they play the football game and the right thing is done. You still have 6 hours to do something about that. This is the 8th time the teams who met in the regular season gather again in the Super Bowl. Buffalo beat an Emmettless Dallas back in Week 2 in Big D 13-10. So if you're wondering, regular season winners when they play the team again, 4-3 in Super Bowl rematches, a slight lean to the Bills. But last January at the Rose Bowl in Super Bowl XXVII, there was no slight lean about it. 52-17 Cowboys in a game that saw the Bills make more turnovers than Betty Crocker. In case you had forgotten, here we go. First half. James Washington's pick in the first quarter gets Dallas in business after they trailed 7-0. Then Charles Haley makes the stick. Jimmy Jones, the handyman, is there for the touchdown, the fumble in the air. Thomas Everett on the 4th down play stymied a Bills drive. Then, after an Aikman to Irvin touchdown, Thermal Thomas stripped of the ball inside the 2-minute warning led to another touchdown. And if the Bills tried to come back in the final seconds of the first half, Larry Brown. 5 first-half turnovers by the Buffalo Bills of Marv Levy. Second half, it got better. Yeah, by 1. James Everett Thomas Everett with the pick, and he tried to go all the way. Then Frank Reich at the fumble, and look what happens. Ken Norton, a left to the face and a right to the jaw, and he was gone for a touchdown. Number 78, Leon Lett, causes a fumble right here by Steve Tasker. And then, when Jeff Coate makes the sack, you remember this play. Leon Lett and Don Beebe. There will be an answer. That one didn't result in the touch. 9 turnovers. Now, when they played this year in Big D, Dallas made 4 turnovers, including late, down 13-10. Matt Darby, the dinosaur, with the pick. Troy Aikman and the Cowboys were stymied. And Jerry and company, well, I could only wonder. Well, later on, of course, Emmitt Smith got back into the lineup. And actually, Tommy, here, let's start.
Turnover.
Would you like a turnover?
It's a turnover.
There were more turnovers there. Our chef has made some of these. Now, how is Buffalo going to avoid? Here, bite into one during the break, by the way. How is someone going to avoid making his? They're not going to make 9, okay? But they will have to eat. How can Buffalo avoid a relapse of last year?
Well, I think as it did last year in Super Bowl XXVII, it begins with Jim Kelly and his ability to control the offensive tempo. There is a major difference between the way he plays when he has pressure and when he doesn't. There you see the pressure at the goal line from Charles Haley, lined up on the left side defensively, knocks the ball into the air. Jimmy Jones gets it, takes it in. Then out in the middle of the football field again, Kelly feeling the pressure there, has to move out of the pocket, takes the sack right there. That's how he ended up leaving the game. Looking back to the AFC Championship game, you see the good one-on-one protection by his offensive line. He has the extra time to scan the football field, make a read, and deliver. Here against the Raiders, again, the extra second, the extra half second to throw the football. Jim Kelly needs time to throw. That takes us right back to his offensive line. And I think that if Kelly can control that ball, not make those major turnovers, Buffalo a chance to win.
Tommy, I think you really hit the key to one of the keys to the game. What happens in the Buffalo scheme of things is Jim Kelly is what we consider a long strider. His arm's not as strong as it used to be, so he can't just stand flat-footed and fire the ball around, say like a Dan Marino. Jimmy needs to step into the ball. Therefore, his offensive line needs to give him adequate protection so that he can step forward, keep the velocity on the ball, and get it in just before the Cowboy backs close on the wide receivers, Mort.
Well, Joe, if you remember, things started breaking down for Kelly early in the second quarter when center Kent Hull injured his knee, and left tackle Will Wolford actually tore his rotator cuff and tried to play through it. In this game, there are 3 different Buffalo line offensive line starters than there were a year ago, so we have different matchups, and maybe that'll work better for Kelly this time, Chris.
Well, he has gone out of his way to praise his offensive line. He has a good relationship with him, but he knows exactly where his bread is buttered, or shall I say, his turnovers are baked. That's only part of the plan, and we'll have more on Jimbo a little bit later on in this edition of NFL Game Day. Jerry and Jimmy coming up. Is it paradise and the dashboard lights, or is it? Playing with pain, something every player must come to grips with, a gripping story. X's, O's, X, Y, Z's, you get the picture. But coming up next, Troy Aikman's years in the NFL, and he may be already leaving an indelible mark.
This is the first time that I've ever gone through an experience where I don't even remember going out on the field and playing in the game.
Welcome back to our 90-minute Super Bowl game day here in Atlanta. Just as Dallas is hoping to author a start to a possible walk with the football gods, winning back-to-back Super Bowls, Cowboys quarterback Troy Aikman is compiling his own legendary ledger sheet. 5 years in the league, and he could be at the helm for 2 Super Bowl titles. It took Joe Montana and Terry Bradshaw 6 years to do that. Not only did Aikman's 69% accuracy lead the NFL this season, not only did he pass for 3,100 yards, but he can run, and he threw only 6 interceptions this year, an amazingly low number. And in the playoffs, 5-0 as a starter, 71% completions, 13 touchdowns, only 3 interceptions. Joe, this just in, he's good.
He's real good, Chris. You're absolutely right. You know, it's unbelievable. Troy Aikman came into last year's Super Bowl XXVII, as hot as any quarterback could be. Coming into Super Bowl XXVIII, he's having a hard time remembering how he got here.
The shot you took last week in the San Francisco game, does it concern you a little bit about the head?
This is the first time that I've ever gone through an experience where I don't even remember going out on the field and playing in the game. And right now, it's not a concern of mine. I just don't want to have it happen again.
What are you guys going to have to do to beat the Bills?
I really think that the key for both teams is to establish the running game. I think that's the key for us. If we're going to have success offensively, I think that's going to be the key for Buffalo. And obviously, turnovers are always a key in a ball game, and you got to keep those to a minimum. But I really feel that if we're able to come out and get the running game going, then it's going to open up everything else for us, and we'll be fine.
Edna had to prove to Jerry that he was worth whatever he got. And it appeared from a public image that, hey, Troy, whatever you want, you got. How does that sit with you? I mean, you were very defensive of Emmett's situation and said, geez, he's worth a lot.
Right, and yeah, I mean, I felt that, and I still feel this way, that he's the best back in football. Emmett his contract was up, so he was obviously forced to hold out throughout training camp to get what he felt he deserved. I negotiated my deal out over a period of about 2.5 months, and so it was not a picnic for me either. It was just that I was under contract, so no one got exposed to what it was I was dealing with.
What did you think when the number got around to $50 million? Can you say $50 million?
I still can't say it, no, but...
Try it. I want to hear you. I want to hear you say it. I want to hear you. Selective memory.
That's right.
Oh, $50 million.
Well, and...
Look at you getting red.
Well, only because I think what happens is, and I said this when I was on David Letterman, is that everybody just wants to talk about the $50 million, and they, all of a sudden they want to say that what I'm making is so dramatically more than what a Steve Young is making because he's at $25 million. Well, I signed a much longer. We could have made it $100 million, and I'd been playing until 2020 or something like that.
You wouldn't have minded.
Not if it was a lot of it was up front.
Jerry Jones has suggested that he could coach the Cowboys. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I suppose he could. He's the owner, so he can pretty much do what he wants. I've heard him say himself that he is a frustrated football coach, and that's why he bought the Dallas Cowboys. And I'm sure there was nothing that he would like more than to come into the box and make a few calls.
$50 million. See if you can try it. Just one. Go ahead, just one.
$50 million.
You did it.
He sure did, and he's worth every penny of it. Any quarterback will tell you that you cannot play well in this league unless you have a teacher, and a good teacher. Troy Aikman has had a great one in Norv Turner. I asked him about the imminent departure of Norv Turner, probably to be the head coach of the Washington Redskins, and he said, I'm not only losing a close friend, I'm losing somebody that's taught me an awful lot about the game and given me a system to function in. He's been a great teacher for me. Watch on this play how Troy sets up. He gets back 3 steps and just flat fires the ball. You want to see how close this is to a completion or an incompletion? Harper comes hard inside on Davis. Hanks, look at that, just barely by the hand. He didn't just hit him between the 8 and the 0. He hit the high right-hand corner of the 8. I want to tell you something, Tommy. That's being able to throw the football.
He certainly can, Joe, but I think the one thing that Norv Turner cannot teach Troy Aikman is how to take a lick. And as you watch those plays right there, timing was what was important. That's where the Buffalo defensive line comes into play. They have to get on top of Troy Aikman very quickly before he can set his feet. We're talking Bruce Smith, Darryl Talley, Cornelius Bennett. And Cornelius Bennett, the only real true blitzing linebacker for the Buffalo Bills, usually comes from the outside. Maybe he comes a little bit from the inside today, looping inside just to give the Dallas Cowboys a different look.
Well, Tommy, Cornelius has a tough offense to contend with today, and I really think it's time to recognize the Dallas Cowboys offense as one of the great in recent NFL history. Really, they have merged the best of the last 8 or 9 Super Bowl champions. Hey, they've got a hog-like Washington Redskins offensive line. They run between the tackles like the New York Giants, and they had the skill position players of the San Francisco 49ers. And the crown jewel in all of this is Troy Aikman.
Well, as a witness to all that, Mort, as you well know, they got 8 offensive Pro Bowlers. They got one from every position: quarterback, running back, fullback, wide receiver, tight end, center, guard, tackle. Now we got Norv going to probably go somewhere else. Every year they're going to lose a coach to a head coach somewhere else. So 10 straight years, Jimmy's going to lose his entire staff.
That's right.
This is a heck of a group that they have put together, no doubt about that. Plenty to come. We are 90 minutes. We've got thermal. We've got the keys to the game. We got to look back 25 years ago to a Super Bowl shocker when the Jets, J-E-T-S, Jets, upended the Colts. But up next, Aikman's counterpart, Jim Kelly, trying to make the Bills in the city of Buffalo champs as Super Bowl game day roars right on. While Troy Aikman has a chance to put himself on a lofty quarterback pedestal, Jim Kelly is already on one. Only he, Joe Montana, Terry Bradshaw, and Roger Staubach have started 4 Super Bowls. But there's the rub. Obviously, the others own the rings. Jim owns some bruising memories, like his first half departure last year when the Cowboys caved in on him. But with the toughness of an offensive lineman, Kelly leads the Bills' charge back into the arena, taking his shots on the field and from the outside, never succumbing until he gets it right.
Piss them off, go for 4.
Is that still like a rallying cry?
No, not as much, because we're here. And nobody wanted us here. That was more of what that meant, because nobody wanted us at the Super Bowl. Now we're here, there's more people saying, we'd like to see you guys win. You guys deserve to win.
Regular season, 18 picks. It's not like you.
Did you see how many picks were tips?
A few, quite a few.
Yeah, a few. And you know, that's the only thing that bothers you to a certain point, because everybody automatically sees the 18 interceptions and they automatically say, wow, he forces the ball. And it ticks you off to a certain point, because I know how many passes that I forced that were intercepted. I know how many balls were tipped, but I realized what type of season I had, and what the bottom line is, wins and losses.
And now in the playoff games, though, no tips, no picks.
Knock on wood. Probably the best memory of the Chiefs win was the first game my mother was able to attend in over a couple months since her heart attack.
What'd you say to her after?
I love you, Mom. We'll see if we can go get the Super Bowl for you, too.
Giant Super Bowl. Give me one memory.
It's not real hard. Wide right.
Redskins Super Bowl.
Redskins were a dominant team.
Dallas Super Bowl.
9 turnovers and a bum knee.
Dallas Super Bowl, second time around.
Bills finally do it. One thing about the Cowboys, you got to keep them off balance. You can't just run, pass, run, pass. You have to pass, run, pass, run, or run. Just keep them off balance. Keep them guessing.
Jim, if you win this Super Bowl, is it all forgotten?
In our minds, no. But it definitely will help relieve some of the tension and some of the focus on those 3 losses. But if we lose, hey, we're not expected to win. We weren't even supposed to be here. but we're here.
Elation or relief if you win this game?
A little bit of both. Probably a little bit more relief than anything.
Yeah, a little bit of elation and explosion, too, if I know those guys. Kelly's always been a bombs-away quarterback, from his USFL days to the Bills' emergence as the only AFC champion in the 90s. But that Buffalo offense, which roared into the Super Bowl against the Giants 3 years ago, is not the same now. It's not a 40-yard passing game anymore. It's more like often 15. Through last season, when James Lofton was just a shadow of his former self, through half of this year when he was gone, I think the Bills and Jim have been in a little bit of denial. But now they understand. It's Andre Reed across the middle. It's Pete Metzelaars as leading receiver at tight end. It's patient and shorter routes. And Kelly certainly has adjusted. And Joe, I think his adjustment is why. And the guy's played 13 playoff games, but for the first time ever, he's put together back-to-back postseason games without an interception. He grasped it now, and it shows.
You know, Chris, it's not just grasping what he shows. I think it's also a case of maturity for Jim Kelly. He knows exactly what he wants to do with the football. He's also getting some help by moving Andre Reed around. He's your best receiver. He's your most productive guy. So now why don't you put him outside? Look at how Jim knows exactly where he wants to go with the football. Look at the throw. It's absolutely perfect. Great release by Andre up the field. Now watch that ball come in. Right over the outside shoulder, just like everybody teaches you, just like everybody tells the quarterback. If you're going to throw the ball down the field, keep it away from the defender, let the sideline be your friend, drop it over the outside. If he can do that with time, Tommy, he's going to be unbeatable.
And I think the interesting thing about that piece of analysis tape, Joe, ball thrown to the left side, I think that leads us right back to the offensive line. John Fina has been a great asset for this ball club. Everybody has been looking at the matchup between John Fina and Charles Haley. Well, let's remember that the Cowboys moved Haley around last year. That fiasco in the second quarter by the Buffalo Bills at their own 1-yard line. Haley coming over House Ballard.
Well, the Jim and the line certainly remember that, and how they handle giving Jim time, obviously, and how Thurman runs, one of the keys, two of the keys to the game. We got a full keychain, don't we? We've got plenty to come on this edition of the Super Bowl Sunday NFL Game Day. Jimmy and Jerry, the agonizing story of playing with pain. That's coming up next when we return. Players do it. They do it because they have to. Doesn't mean they do it because they like to. Stay with us. Welcome back to Atlanta. They start in mid-July with two-a-days, play a preseason schedule, 18 regular season games, and if they're lucky, 2 or 3 more playoff games, and finally arrive at the Super Bowl the last couple of days in January. In short, they are true warriors. Surviving the season is almost as impressive as winning a Super Bowl. Oh, sure, the injury reports may list the players as probable or maybe not mention them at all, but every one of them is hurting. Just as it's been a season-long process for the players, it's been the same for us. Let's rejoin Andrea Kramer at the Georgia Dome to explain.
Chris, officially 8 players are listed on the injury report for both teams. But look at the Bills. At least 6 guys have sprains, including Ken Hall's ankle. 2 have pulls, 4 have contusions of the elbow, the knee, and then there's Jim Kelly's hip. As for the Cowboys, remember Troy Aikman had a concussion last week. Ken Norton Jr. has been playing with a torn bicep since October 31st, which he estimates at only 40% efficiency. And of course, everyone remembers Emmitt Smith, who almost single-handedly beat the Giants while playing with a grade 1 separated shoulder. This week, I asked these men how they continue to play with pain.
Injuries are a part of the game, and the ultimate thing in football is to win a Super Bowl. You play with pain throughout the whole season to get to this point, and it's going to have to be pretty drastic in order to keep you out.
Just being here just intensify just about everything, and basically with the intense come motivation and all that stuff, and mental blockage, and makes it easier to disregard something.
This is the reason why I stayed, and I don't think my arm will hold me back one bit. I think that if anything, I'm going to make it feel a lot better today.
To put this in perspective, if a layperson injures his foot, he could be on crutches for 4 weeks. If a football player does it, he could be on the sidelines for 4 minutes. Players told me, unless you've experienced it, it's almost impossible to comprehend what playing with pain really means, what drives a person to do it. But when you enter the psyche of an NFL player, you begin to understand the power and inspiration of playing with pain. the stupidest thing you ever did to get on the field?
Probably going in and starting the second half when I hurt my kidney. What was happening was blood was filling up, squeezing off my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. Had I stayed out there, I might have died. Who knows?
You have to realize, I mean, everything that's worth attaining, you have to sacrifice for, and pain is that sacrifice.
The only thing you can do is ice and heat to try to get the swelling down. Take anti-inflammatories to try to get the swelling down. And then take painkillers on Sunday that you still have pain, but you have to be able to, for 3 seconds or 4 seconds, to be able to go from point A to point B without the pain affecting you.
I think pain is all, a lot of it is, it's in your mind. I mean, you can control a lot of what you're feeling through your mind, and I think it, you know, if you want to play badly enough, it's not going to hurt as bad.
I turned down offers of x-rays because I don't want to know. I don't care. I'm going to play anyway, so why no?
A torn bicep prevents Ken Norton Jr. from picking up a glass, but it didn't prevent him from making his first Pro Bowl this year. Despite constant pain, he resolved to make it enhance, not detract from his performance.
And it's detached from here on down to here. And when they go in and have the surgery, they're going to have to put this back in there. In a way, it's kind of made my game better in that anytime you go out and you feel that you're not 100%, you always try to work a little bit harder to overcompensate for whatever your injury is. You just get out there and fly around, and you worry about the bumps and bruises, you know, come the next morning.
Monday mornings, I feel like you've seen The Wizard of Oz. I feel like the Tin Man without the oil. He doesn't realize what I went through last night. He doesn't understand. He thinks football to him is getting the ball and running around the house and having daddy tackle him. You know, he doesn't realize football to me is 60 car wrecks in 3 hours.
The sight, sound, and smell of pain permeate the game. And in the National Football League, one of the worst labels is he won't play with pain. Pressure to play may come from coaches or peers or from within, the fear of losing your job. The pressure may be subtle or as hard-hitting as a blindside blitz.
If you're not hurting from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet, you must be the ultimate backup.
Guys on our team, for instance, have gotten hurt, and another player will come up and say, hey, look, you know, is that all it is? The pressure kind of builds at that point, because now the player is feeling, well, gee, you know, people are starting to question my integrity or my heart.
What they don't want to do is get into a group of people that the other players look at as being sissies.
Those guys are the guys you put in the pen. You pencil that into the back end of the book, and the first time you get a chance to get rid of them, you get rid of them.
Hey, if I don't get out on the field and perform, I'm not going to be around. I'm going to lose my job. I think job security is definitely a big part of it.
What we used to do in Washington, we used to cross-check the players. Like as the offensive line coach, I'd talk to the defensive lineman. And Torgy was the defense, he'd talk to the offense, and I'd go in and say, hey, what's wrong with you today, Charles? You got to hang now?
I remember when Joe Bugel was here, I always felt like when I was injured or when I was hurt and I couldn't practice, not play, because I'd always end up playing in the game, but if I couldn't practice, he tended to avoid me.
When you ignore somebody or don't buddy up to them, they know something's wrong. Something wrong that time, he wasn't on the field.
There's an unwritten code that says players are expected to play with pain. Barry Foster defied that code. After he sprained his ankle, he elected to have surgery against the Steelers' wishes and was lost for the season. He made the choice not to play, and questions arose about his commitment.
I don't think you get into evaluating players with how much pain they can withstand. As long as you perform, they don't care if you're hurting or not. But if you can't perform, they want to know if you can endure the pain. If you can't, you're going to be labeled as a guy who can't play with the pain. Before I announced that I was going to have surgery, I could see in some guys' eyes that they were still doubting me because they would ask me questions. Dang, man, you still hurt? You know, I'm not going to go through all this pain just to make the organization happy. I feel like I don't have to.
Barry Foster's choice was courageous. So is Emmitt Smith's. At any point, was there a temptation just to sit?
Just to sit? Yes. Yes, it was.
So what stopped you?
I wanted to get back out there and win the game.
And no amount of pain was going to stop you?
Not the pain I was going through anyway. It wasn't broke. As long as I knew it wasn't broke, I was going to go.
You really put the team before your personal health.
Yes, I did. Pain is not the most important thing. I think, when after the game, Mike Irvin came in and hugged my neck, cried on my shoulder with me while I was in pain. That was emotional. It really was. It really was. Yep.
Emmitt described how during the game, both the Giants and Cowboys players were helping him up after each play, how his teammates were constantly saying to him, "Are you okay?" But when the adrenaline stopped and the emotion ended, the teasing began on the plane ride home. As for Emmitt's condition this week, he said it's the most mobility he's had in the shoulder since he injured it. I asked him what he's going to wear. He said, same thing I've been wearing past couple of weeks, just my shoulder pads. Chris, back to you.
All right, Andrew, thank you very much. A great job. You know, sometimes all of us who are fans that didn't play the game like you guys take the guys out there on the field for granted. I think there's a big-time reminder that we appreciate what they're doing out there. Except for you two guys. Well, do you feel, honestly, there's a rap that the current players don't do the same things. They don't play with as much pain as the old-timers did. Do you think that's true, Tom?
No, I don't, Chris. I think that great players in any era tend to play with pain and maybe even play injured. They don't do it for the coaching staff. They don't do it for the money, the fans, the media. They do it for themselves and their teammates, and it comes from within. Now, fortunately, today we have a lot of great players on this field who will be willing to do almost anything to win today's game.
You know, Tommy, it's interesting when I thought about pain. When I used to go to training camp, the first day I arrived, my mindset was that from now on, I am going to wake up and I am going to be hurting. For the next 6 months of my life, I'm going to be hurting, I'm going to be in pain. But there was a big motivational factor in playing with pain for me. I always thought about the guy that wanted my job. If I was in competition with another quarterback and I thought, if I got hurt, and he got out on the field, and he could show the coach that he could perform, I may not be able to get my job back. Therefore, I would play through anything to be able to stay on that football field and make sure that the other guy never had a chance to show what he could do to the coach. And that's how I got my job, Chris. Really, a guy got hurt. I got a chance to show my stuff, and that's how I got mine. I never wanted that to happen to me.
You're saying that, Joe. Now I understand why Chris Myers asked me every week, is your voice all right? Will you be able to make it? Now I understand what he's talking about. Only kidding. Still to come, a guy who has played with and dishes out pain, Moose Johnston. Bill's special teammate Steve Tasker, and next, the Jimmy and Jerry Alliance. They built this city. They built this city on rock and roll. But do they understand each other anymore?
I think I understand him as well as I'll ever understand him.
Do you understand Jimmy Johnson?
Well, I understand all I need to understand, and all that I really care to understand.